Greetings, peace, and power. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. Today's subject is going to be um, deal with music, but you have to deal with those who also study the origin of music from the cultural standpoint. So those who are ethnomusicologists and music theorists, etc. So the person I'm going to be speaking of, he was born in Ghana. Well, he's of Ghanaian descent, right? But he happened to be an American. His name is Victor Kofi Agawu. So Victor Kofi Agawu is a musicologist. He studies a lot into African music and African American music, etc. Now, before I go into his biography, let's go into what is ethnomusicology. So that way we would know what it means to deal with ethnomusicology, what's the definitions, etc. And that way we become more familiarized with it. So please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, share the channel, etc. Thank you guys who have been sharing my channel. Thank you guys who have been subscribing, who have comment, etc. I appreciate that a lot. I may not be able to get to everybody's comments, but I am reading them, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. If you have not followed me on Facebook, please do so. Tiffany L. French on Facebook. Okay, so I should be back and active sometime tomorrow. All right. And also, you can follow my Instagram, which is light bread. I mean, not light bread. Eastside Tip. That's my Instagram page, Eastside Tip. And also, you can follow my TikTok, which is light bread 89. So I do my little TikTok videos on there. I'm learning how to work the algorithm of TikTok. So I'm working on that. I'm learning how to do it. Also, you can check me out on Clubhouse, which is TIPFRENCH. TIPFRENCH on Clubhouse. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, when we talk about the concept of ethnomusicology, exactly what is that? What does it mean to get into the field of study of ethnomusicology? Now, many may not be familiar with it. Many of them may not even heard of it at all. But let's look up what the terminology is. So ethnomusicology is the study of music from the cultural and social aspect of the people who make it. It encompasses distinct theoretical and methodical approaches that emphasize cultural, social, material, and cognitive, biological, and other dimensions of context of musical behavior in addition to the sound component. So right here it says folklorists who began preserving and studying folklore music in Europe and the US in the 19th century are considered the precursors of the field prior to the Second World War. The term musicology, ethnomusicology, is said to have been coined by Jap Kuntz from the Greek word ethno means nation and music. It often defined as anthropology or ethnography of music or as music anthropology. During its early development from comparative musicology in the 1950s, ethnomusicology was primarily oriented towards non-Western music, but for several decades, it has included the study of all and any music of the world, including Western art music and popular music. From anthropological, sociological, and intercultural perspective, Bruno Netti once characterized ethnomusicology as a product of Western thinking, proclaimed that ethnomusicology as Western culture knows it actually a Western phenomenon. In 1992, Jeff Todd Tennant described it as the study of people making music. So as you can see, basically, to sum up, ethnomusicology deals with the cultural practice of music. and how music plays influence in various culture and has its own meaning, etc. So in the beginning, it was more so studying the non-Western music. Then they incorporate Western music together. Now let's continue down here real fast. Staley broadly, ethnomusicology may be described as a holistic investigation of music in its cultural context, combining aspects of folklore, psychology, and cultural anthropology, linguistics compared to musicology, music theory, and history. So, ethnomusicology has adopted perspective from a multitude of disciplines. This disciplinary variety has given rise to many definitions of the field, and attitudes and falsity of ethnomusicologists have evolved since initial studies in the area of comparative musicology in the early 1900s. All right, so again, I don't have to go any further. If you guys want to read more into this, you can find it on Wikipedia. Okay. See, it goes into the history. Basically, pretty much everything that I read. All right, so let's see if we can find any references at the bottom. Scroll down here. And you say, see also list of ethnomusicologists. Then you got the references at the bottom. These are all the references at the bottom of the page, right? Then there's the further reading. Then that's the external links at the bottom. All right. So now let's get into the person. All right, so this is V. Kofi Ngagu. So Victor Kofi Ngagu was born on September 28th of 1956 and is considered as an American musicologist and music theorist of Ghanaian birth. He often published as V. Kofi Ngagu and specialized in musical semantics and ethnomusicology. He is a distinguished professor at the Graduate Center of CUNY. All right, so he was born in Hohe or Hohi, the Volta region of Ghana. Agawu attended Presbyterian Boys Secondary School of Legion, where he obtained his GCE ordinary level certificate and went on to do this advanced level at a Chimota school. He earned a bachelor's degree in music from the University of Reading in the United Kingdom in 1977, a master's degree in musical analysis from King's College London in 1978, and a PhD in historical musicology from Stanford University in 1982. He is also certified by the Royal Academy of Music in the teaching of singing and by the Royal College of Music in musicianship and theory. And then goes on to say he has taught at Princeton University, Yale University, Cornell University, King's College London, Duke University, Haverford College, and the University of Oxford. In 2006, he was appointed professor of music and African American studies in Harvard University Faculty of Arts and Sciences. He returned to Princeton several years later and then taught at the Graduate Center at CUNY as a visiting professor, returning there in January 2019 as a professor of music and rising to distinguished professor status in July of 2019. His award included the Dent Medal in 1992, awarded by the Royal Musical Association and International Musicological Society for outstanding contribution to musicology. Agawu has written more than 75 peer-reviewed journals, articles, and given over 100 keynote addresses and invited lectures. In 2009, he was awarded the IRC Harrison Medal of Society for Musicology in Ireland. So there's a list of his publication. It says Agawu first and most widely cited book is Playing with Sign, a Semitic interpretation of classical music, which won the Emerging Scholar Award from the Society for Music Theory. His next monogram was African Rhythm, a Northern Ewe perspective, which deals with the relationship and interference of the Ewe language and their music in everyday lives, revealing a great horizon for African rhythmic expression. More recent books included The African Imagination in Music, 2016, Music as Discourse, Somatic Adventures, and Romantic Muse in 2009, and representing African music, post-colonial notes, queries, position in 2003. So here's the references down at the very bottom. And that's it. And so that's all the information on that individual. And I can show you a picture of him. All right, so this is a picture of him. Okay, this is the person that I'm speaking of on the subject. Professor Agawu. That's his name, Professor Agawu. Right. So there's lists of books that he has written and articles. All right. So one of the articles that I am going to go over is the invention of African rhythm. The invention of African rhythm by Kofi Agawu. Inventing African rhythm, the notion that the distinctive quality of African music lies in its rhythmic structure, and consequently that the terms African music and African rhythm are often interchangeable, but being so persistently thematicized in writings about African music that it has by now assumed the status of commonplace, a topos. And so it is with the related ideas that African rhythms are complex, that Africans are essentially rhythmic people, and that Africans are different from us, from Euro Americans. Consider a few of these characterizations. The 11th century Christian physician and theologian Ibn Bolton, in tract entitled On How to Buy Slaves and How to Detect Bodily Defects, claimed that if a black were to fall from the sky were to fall from the sky to the earth, he would fall in rhythm. In other words, even while facing certain death, speaking as metaphorically as Bolton did, blacks, especially black women, continue to exhibit an exceptional and irreducible rhythmic disposition. The association of dancing with death, the racialist conferral of particular sensibilities on particular groups of people, and the construction of African rhythm as complex, superior, but ultimately incomprehensible. These and other implications of Ibn Bolton's casual remark are found and reproduced in diverse ways and with diverse accent throughout the history of discourse about African music. Well, and that's very so true. As African descendant people, especially as African American women, we develop our own natural rhythm when we walk, the way we talk, the way we carry ourselves. We have a natural rhythm, and that's something that's just a part of us, and that's part of our being. So, if you ever wonder why we do the neck roll and the walking and the this, that, and other, because that just come from having rhythm, and that's something that we carry from our ancestors. They had rhythm. They had rhythm in their attitude. They had rhythm in how they talk. They had rhythm in how they walk. That was just them. All right. Leaping from the 11th century to our own, we encounter the following. Eric von Hornbostel describes a piece of African xylophone music in which he found one of the parts syncopated past our comprehension. W.E.F. Ward, writing in his 1927, finds the basis of African rhythm to be so completely different from that of Europeans that the European system of bar lines is foreign to African music. Incidentally, the use of bar lines remains one of the most contested issues in transcription of African music. Echoing the medieval Arabic writer quoted earlier, Ward further claims that Africans have not merely cultivated their sense of rhythm far beyond ours, but must have started with a superior sense of rhythm. In the inaugural issues of this journal, Richard A. Weatherman opens his study, High Rhythm in Negro Music, with the claim that those who have had the opportunity to listen to Negro music in Africa or the New World have been almost unanimously in agreeing that its most striking aspect is its rhythm. And the Reverend A.M. Jones, writing with characteristic enthusiasm and confidence in 1949, declares that if anyone was to ask what is the outstanding characteristic of African music, the answer is a highly developed rhythm. Furthermore, the African is far more skilled at drama and rhythm than we are. In fact, our Bono pom pom on the drums is mere child's play compared with the complicated and delicate interplay of rhythms in African drama. So that's pretty much what I want to go into with this article. It's called "The Invention of African Rhythm" by Kofi Agawu, and this came out in 1995. Okay, so yep, that's this article. Now it's books. Let's go into the book. So this book wasn't written by him, but this book goes into West African drama and dancing in North America University, and ethnomusicological perspective by George Wolashi Quasi Dor. All right. So it pretty much go into West African drama and dancing, etc. Okay. All right. So ooh, let's look at historical overview of West African drama and dance in North America from the early 19th. 1960s. It goes on to say drums, drumming, and dance during the period of slavery. Although one cannot overlook the ethnic, social, cultural, symbolic significance of specific African chordophones, Mende Kora, the Goje of Lupe, the Bamba and Hausa, and tune audiophones, Sono Imbibra, etc. I have observed elsewhere that drums are generally considered the most important musical instruments of African. They are symbols of political power, embodiment of black spirituality, galvanizing tools, uniting forces, speech surrogates, and exquisite artifacts. For the sake of sound historiography, it is important to emphasize that enslaved Africans were not only taken from West Africa during the transatlantic slave trade, but also from different parts of Central and Southeastern Africa, as evidenced in Philip Curtin and more recent works, including segments of essays in Holloway. And although my preceding observation regarding the importance of dance drumming applies to all the aforementioned regional sources of enslaved Africans, I want to redirect my focus on the geo-cultural scope of this book. West African drumming and North America. Given that West Africa has some of the most vibrant drumming traditions in the world, and as most transatlantic slaves came from this region, one would have expected a steady, undisputed, or undisrupted continuation in drum and drumming tradition in all parts of African diaspora. Contrarily, drumming was suppressed during the period of slavery in what is now known as the United States of America. I explored this historical backdrop under one, dislocation and partial disruption, two, Christian liturgy as embedded and indirected disruption, and three, slaveholders' control as total suppression. So basically, in other words, dancing and drumming has always been an integral part of the African culture. So when slavery came into existence, they were still dancing and doing drumming. However, they were not able to do these things out in the open because they were under the control of the Europeans. So the Europeans did what they could to try to suppress and try to downplay drumming within the slave community, because they knew what that meant when the slaves had the drumming and did the dancing and stuff. They knew that it meant some type of political call or some type of political action, whatever, and they were in fear of that. So they was doing whatever they could to be able to maintain and have some type of control, dominion over it, and pretty much telling the slaves that you're not going to be able to do this, or you're not going to be able to practice that. You're a slave. Remember, at the end of the day, you don't really have any rights. So it's like, if we catch you doing it, then your life is put in jeopardy. And that's the whole thing. All right. Social cultural dislocation as partial and natural disruption of drumming. So Africa's myriad social cultural institution structures and system inextricably inform the organization of its respective traditional music genre. Nikita, Bebe, and several other African music scholars in their writing have adequately them- thematized this axiomatic and symbiotic interaction between music and social and political and or cultural phenomena. Also generally resonant with the preceding are the theoretical perspective of Giddens and Mawson, which supports the dialectical interplay between music cultures and social cultural structures and systems. All right, so Christian liturgy as indirect and partial disruption of drumming tradition. Now, going down to it, it says Religion is another important a bit under which the continuation or disruption of African drumming and dance in the diaspora can be understood. In homeland Africa, drumming and dancing are indispensable, expressive, and experimental domains of traditional African practices, whether used as a means of invoking the presence of a divinity, including spirits, possession, and devotees, conditioning the momentary spirituality in an intermediary and conduit of corporate expression of religious beliefs, or a vehicle for easy transition between different stages of worship, all which facilitates ritual efficacy. Furthermore, Nikita Imbuba and Barbara have discussed textual construction in which a substantial amount of West African praise poetry is directed toward deities, whether sung or played on drums such as the Canadian Antambon or Yoruba the Dondon. It is therefore legitimate to ask whether or not religious drumming tradition have been dislocated or discontinued, like court drumming traditions and dances in African diaspora. The answer to this question is to focus on the next few paragraphs. So I won't go any further into the next paragraph, but again, the title of this book is called West African Drumming and Dancing in North America University. Okay. All right, so here's another article. It's called The Rhythmic Structure of West African Music by Kofi Agawu. There's another article here. And it can be found on jster.org. And also, this book is called Communication in the 18th Century Music. Okay, so this came out in what year? Let me see the copyright. 2008. So yeah, this one is deal with the introduction. Danuta Murka. That's the introduction. Then you got communication and verisimilitude in the 18th century, listening to listeners. All right. So etc. etc. go on and on. And then the next book is called African Rhythm, a Northern Iwe Perspective, Kofi Agawu. This book came out in 1995. So not to go any further, yeah, just putting some books out there. If you guys want to look into it, just look up the name Kofi Agawu and the books will come up, and you can find these books on Amazon. Represent African music, post-colonial notes, queries, position. Kofi Agawu. Again, you can look that book up. You can look his name up. All you gotta do is type it up on Amazon, and you'll be able to find some books that's available. Right. So I'm not gonna go into the review about these books because my time is limited on here, but I just want to show you guys. So I'm gonna just show the books again. And the articles, Invention of African Rhythm, the rhythmic structure of West African music. Okay. All right, so that's it. That's all I have for today. And I thank you all for watching. For those of you that was watching, and thank you guys who have been supporting my channel. I really appreciate that a lot. So make sure you subscribe to hit the notification bell, share the channel, like the channel, etc., etc. And until next time, I will reconnect with you all later. Until then, peace and power, elevation be to all of you. Please be safe. Be careful out here. All right. And that's it. Deuces. All right. Thank y'all so much.